Hey guys, there's this common school of thought that if three or four or more people form the same conclusion independently of one another, then that conclusion can only be the truth. Interesting thing, when I first posted that I had this knife on my Instagram, I got a few messages from more than three or four people saying, hey, be careful of that knife, man. I had a near miss or I had a finger slice on this knife. There's a couple of things you need to know about it to make sure you're using it safely. And I thought, well, that's got to be something. There must be something in that if more than two or three people have approached me. So looking at this knife, this is the Cold Steel Bushman. And this is a really simple knife, a really, really strong knife. In fact, Cold Steel goes far to say that it's basically the folding fixed blade. It's got another Andrew Demko super lock. That dude is the master of really strong locks. And like his other really common lock in Cold Steel's range, the Triad lock, this one is also you exchange a bit of strength, or you exchange a bit of ease of use rather for a bit of strength. So it's kind of cumbersome. So looking at it here, you can see it's got a spring bar that goes all the way down the back of the internals of that folded handle, and by pulling on that cord there, that's how you unlock the lock. So when the knife is open, you need to pull that string, and you need to pull that string. You won't have any luck if there's no string attached. It's just not grippy enough to grab the bottom, and dangerous again. So you need to pull that string, and that will unlock the blade. So very, very unusual, very strong, but yeah, really kind of tricky. You need to have your game face on and your game brain on when you're using this blade, especially if, like the name suggests, you're taking it out into the bush by yourself. So looking at it though, it's a large folder. It's made of a single sheet of stainless steel folded over, sort of powder coated or bead blasted or somewhat, and then a 4116 surgical Krupp steel blade. So it's a big blade. It's got about a 6-inch handle and it's got about a 4-inch blade. This is it next to the Benchmade 940, which has got that sort of 3.25-inch blade and sort of 4-inch handle or 4.5-inch handle. That's it next to the ZT0562, about as big and chunky as a knife that I generally like to carry. This is next to the Kaiser Gemini, which is pretty much a great EDC size knife, 3-inch blade, 4-inch handle. Crystal Eve Small Sebenza, 3-inch blade, 3.75-inch handle, I believe. Spidey Chef, 3.5-inch blade, 4.5-inch handle, and then a couple of lightweight knives, the Alma Falcon Ultralight and the Kershaw Fraction, a new knife there. So looking at this knife up close, you've got a pocket clip there which is reversible, and that jimping at the back there is kind of the back of that ram lock that I was talking about. It's going to stick out a fair bit from your pocket seam, so there it is there in the pocket. So people are going to see he's got a doodad in his pocket, that's for sure, because yeah, it looks like a doodad for certain. Very frankly, it's a bit kind of eye-catching, not as in threatening eye-catching, but it's like, hey, what's that cord and weird crimped bit of metal sticking out there? So it's not one for probably city or office carry. It's just a little bit too huge. Let's check the strength of this ram lock. I think it's called the ram lock, the Demko ram lock. Let's batten with it. So getting my gnarled old super hard redwood out. And this isn't an ideal task for any knife, even a fixed blade knife. I mean, I think a thick fixed blade can be fine for like kindling prep and stuff, but this lock is actually really holding up well to being pummeled through pretty hard, pretty dry wood. It's not locking on itself. Often the impacts make even the strongest knives kind of hop out of their lock tracks or whatnot. Not the case with this knife. It is actually performing really, really well. So strong lock for certain. But as I said, a little bit cumbersome and a little bit tricky. I'll go into the safety stuff in the end of the video, I guess, because there are probably a couple of things you need to know. But read the blade. Look at that. It's full flat grind, great for pretty much any job. I find the full flat grind. I'll cut up this lemon with it. It's slicey as. This steel in my testing in this exact Bushman held a good length of time for a budget blade steel. So I think it did 67 cuts of the Sisal rope that I'm always using for my cut tests, if you're familiar with my channel. Maybe I'll put a card up to show you. And that's about as long as like a good Paul Boss heat treated 420HC. It's almost to VG10 levels of edge retention, probably only about 5 to 10 off of VG10 in terms of thick rope cuts. So did really well in the cut test, and the blade geometry and all that, there was absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. The clip point, nice and sharp. Just a good slicing machine, no problems at all. You can most certainly also get it out against wood if you are using it sort of as your perhaps camping fixed blade knife. You can shave wood, no problems at all. It's not ideal, it's a bit big, and the handle, again, I guess we'll talk about this being in the safety side later on, the handle's kind of slippery and not super comfortable either, but if you're using it just occasional use or just for small dribs and drabs here and there, you shouldn't have too many problems using this for pretty much any sort of camp or everyday task really that you might use your knife for. But the safety thing. So the feedback I got was from people who said that the two-step process to sort of open this knife, there is a hand movement to open this knife. So not only do you have to sort of get the knife out, you start it, and then you have to sort of shuffle your hand up a little bit further, and then the knife is open, unless you have really big hands. So I've got large hands, I wear the large gloves, like in the nitrile gloves and whatnot. And yeah, I have a movement there. So that is combined with a real snappiness to the knife when it is sort of moved more than, say, 40 degrees out of the handle. It really does snap back. There's no quick way to flick it out. Once it is past that threshold, it does roll out without needing to worry about it snapping back on your fingers. But from about the sort of, if you think of the knife flat on its side is 180 degrees, if it's up to that sort of 40 degrees or so, the knife will really whip back really quick smart on your fingers. So it's something to be careful of. And I've also had people remark that as they've gone to unlock the knife, their hands have slid up the quite untextured handle and they've got a thumb onto the blade or something like that and cut themselves pretty badly. So just something I thought I would definitely bring up. But it hasn't happened to me. I've used the knife a little bit. This knife really isn't my cup of tea, I must say. It is well made though. The technical side of it, it's absolutely fine. It's got a really strong lock. It is well made, well put together, economical for certain. It's about a $40 Australian knife, probably way cheaper in America. And overall it does the job of being like a large hard use folder, but it is definitely not for beginners. It's something that you need to, you don't just be dismissive that other people have cut themselves. Don't just say all those people were dumb, they cut themselves. I can see how it could happen, and it's probably just a matter of time of using this knife before it does scare you just a little bit. So definitely something to be wary of with this knife. But overall, if you're after something well made, if the size is okay for you, if you can get your head around the super strong lock and see more merits than disadvantages to how it operates, then this might well be a good knife for you. It's interesting to say the least, and it's kind of cool that Cold Steel keeps churning out really kind of one-of-a-kind pieces like this. So that's my thoughts on this Cold Steel Pocket Bushman. Far from being a pocketable knife, but still probably able to find some use out in the bush. I'll see you in the next video, dudes. Have a good one.